Welcome to Intentionalist podcast. In today's episode, this is episode 9, we are going to discuss the impact of stress on our weight and performance. When I was thinking of this episode, I wanted to have not only someone who lived the world, but also who has done it consistently. We have seen how many professionals, here is executive, business people, people in transition, stress affects us in different ways, either weight gain or weight loss, confidence. There is a way to shrink somebody's level of confidence. Personally, it's something that has really affected me for a very long time, ever since 2017 when I was diagnosed with PCOS. It shrinked my level of confidence, my self-love, my body confidence, and the way I approach life. It was like a total flip. And discussing this topic is also sharing our personal stories, our personal journey, and then professional coping mechanism, tips, and how you can seize your life back together. In today's episode, we are going to go deep into the root cause of weight gain, consistent weight gain fluctuation, and then performance in terms of either work performance or social performance or confidence that comes with it, with those problems that are usually associated with stress and weight gain. Today's guest is my coach. Today's guest is somebody that I do respect in the industry of wellness, in the industry of weight loss and sustainability. There is crash in terms of weight loss, but there is also sustainability. And the beauty of her approach is she always tell you that you don't have to hate what you love the most. You don't have to go away from chapati, from any other thing that you like. Today's guest is Coach Roseanne.
Oh, Alice, thank you so much for her. And honestly, that's such a great topic that I love on stress management, because I think as we continue to have this conversation, which you have alluded to, you will see how stress can affect not just our performance, it will affect our body esteem, it will affect how we show up at work, in our family, and obviously how we show up for ourselves. Because for me, it's really, once you show up the best for yourself, it becomes so much easier to then now show up for your work, your family, etc.
100%.
Oh, so thank you.
Would you tell us a little bit about the types of stress that can affect weight fluctuation?
Well, so stress comes in many ways. Now, stress is actually normal. It is a normal human experience. We're all supposed to experience some form of stress. So I want you to think about our ancestors and how we lived centuries ago. The way they lived, it was hunting and gathering. And so what they did when there was hunting and gathering, they would go out, look for food. And that moment of chasing, whether it's chasing an animal to hunt, that's stressful.
Yes, it is.
But once they capture that animal, they come back home, then they relax and they calm down. So your body is not fully in a state of stress. So that's how our ancestors lived. But as the world changed and as the world has become more industrialized, our lifestyle also continued to change. We don't live the way our parents lived. We live in a very structured society, which for me is not the way we're supposed to live as human beings. What am I saying? When you think about the current lifestyle, the way we've been structured to live at work, working 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or 7 to 4, that actually is a model that came from Henry Ford when he came up with the Ford company. And he was like, what's going to be the best way for us to be effective in creating the car in production? And so he came up with this shift schedule where every 8 hours people were working. So what did we see out of that? Out of that model, which has now been carried over, not just in the work arena, but even, can you imagine a mother who has children, is stressed at home, taking care of her children, then has to go to work from a shift schedule. And this in itself has caused our lifestyle and has caused us to actually have more stress in our body. How does this show up? So our body is driven, so there's lifestyle, number one. Then there's the hormone that drives the stress. Now remember that incident that I gave you, or that example that I gave you, how ancestors lived hundreds of years ago when they were chasing animals. So in that moment, when they're in a level of stress, so you have a couple of things that are going on. It's the fight or flight state of our body.
Yes.
So when you're in a fight state, your body releases adrenaline, it releases epinephrine. These are just hormones in the body, which are helping you survive in that moment of hunting,
Yes.
of stress. Now, that your body doesn't know the difference between hunting and stress from your child, stress from your boss, stress from work, stress all around from a diagnosis of something like PCOS.
Yes.
Your body doesn't know the difference. So now you can imagine, how does it show up is the question you asked me, and this is now how I want to tie it all back together.
Yes.
You have a child or children you're taking care of at home.
Yes.
That is stressful because I have my
is,
children,
yeah.
okay, y'all? That is stressful. You then have to go to work.
Yes.
That's stressful. You then have all these other expectations that you're doing. So the lifestyle that we're currently living is a very high level stress lifestyle.
Yes,
and then
it
the
is.
shift that we've talked about.
Yes.
That is how it shows up. Now, how does it show up in your body? If you're constantly in a state of stress and we will talk about how to mitigate the stress.
Yes.
If you are not able to understand and begin to manage those levels of stress, remember, I talked to you about those hormones that come in our body. And I like to talk about hormones because I always want you
That's
to
our
understand.
real monsters.
Right? Because it's important that you understand, okay, I'm not just saying stress, but it's really driven by your hormones.
Yeah, true.
So once you understand that, okay, there's a drive of cortisol, which is high, which is a stress hormone. You have the adrenal glands, which if you're constantly stressed, they can become fried.
Yes.
These things now will cause you to then gain the weight,
Yes.
can cause you to now become inflamed. Actually, your body, the way it starts showing up is a state of inflammation. And for some people, when your body is inflamed with things like PCOS, it becomes harder for you to lose that weight.
Yes.
So it's now understanding, okay, what's causing the stress? Where is the stress coming from? How is my lifestyle looking like? Because before we even begin to address the things to do, you must first always understand what's the underlying issue of stress.
Yes, true.
And that's now what we want to address. Understand what is stressing you, and then begin now to see how is that showing up in your body. For some people, it's weight gain, and like you said, other people, they lose weight. In fact, the question now becomes, why do we gain weight?
Yes, true.
Right?
Yes.
Can you go into that?
Yes, true.
Okay.
Let's do that.
So how do we gain weight? There's two ways. There's the hormonal part of it.
Yes.
And when the hormones are inflamed and not working as they should, they will begin to drive an imbalance in the body.
Yes.
When they drive that imbalance, it actually shows up in our actions and in our habits. Not for everyone, but for most people.
Yes.
Now, 2020, 2021 was a very stressful season for majority of people.
Yes.
I didn't think I was stressed. I truly didn't think. And in fact, I was, that year, 2020 COVID, I worked out every day. If you followed me on Instagram, every day I was working out, Monday through Sunday.
Yes.
Okay? But something happened and I hadn't made the connection. I wasn't sleeping. In 2020, 2021, I was not sleeping. But I couldn't tell why I wasn't sleeping. But what I understood later was two things. Number one, there was the underlying stress of obviously COVID, we're all locked in, what's going on around the world. Exactly. And for me, I was I'm perimenopausal.
Yes.
So I was also not sleeping because of that.
Yes.
So what happened was in 2022, I went to see a doctor because I began noticing my midsection was beginning to look something like I'd never.
I
had never had. And remember, I am working out. I am eating the way I know I should be eating.
I remember that time we were also mentioning the issues of bloating.
And bloating, exactly. And my face was puffing up. Oh, you remember all that?
Lows.
Yes. So I was experiencing all those things.
Yes.
Now, when I went to see my doctor, that's when he actually told me it's not only is it perimenopausal symptom, lack of sleep, but there's stress going on. And so it's important to first, and in my mind, I truly didn't think I was stressed.
Yes.
Like I genuinely did not think I was stressed.
Yes.
But how do you know you're stressed? It's burnout. I wasn't sleeping. That's a form of stress.
Yes.
So it can show up in a very subtle way, like for me, the way it showed up. And then physically, how will it show up? You'll notice that specifically mid-belly gain weight.
Yes.
That is like the first symptom. It's like, where has that come from? And especially if you know you're doing everything right, that's usually one symptom.
Yes.
Another symptom that you're going to notice is lethargy. Just being tired.
Yes,
you
true.
have no energy.
Yeah.
You don't feel like doing anything. The third symptom is brain fog.
Yes.
You're not able to think clearly.
Yes.
You know why?
You're forgetful.
You're forgetting. All this is part of brain fog.
Yeah.
And the reason why all this is happening is because you're stressed. when you begin to notice these symptoms, and obviously for other people it's going to show up, puffy eyes, which I know I had because of lack of sleep, skin breakouts. These are all symptoms. Now, when your body begins to show you these things, all your body is saying, you have an indicator, there's something underlying that's not working. Let's go to the root cause. And once now we begin to understand there's something, the next thing I always say, listen, I say this is make the decision.
Yeah, true.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, because I think the first thing is a lack of knowledge. Because in the same season, that's the time people were locked out. There was people could not travel and all that. That's the season. My partner did not come home for nearly 9 months, and I had a young baby. I was alone in Kenya.
Oh my God!
Many people were back in Rwanda. Some of my uncle was really sick, who ended up even dying by that season. Sorry. One of my sister was on and off in hospitals. So there was a lot going on in my life. And talking about the coping mechanism, I didn't realize that I was stressed actually.
So you too.
So how I never had that sleep. I was that hyper woman who will do everything during the day, everything during the night, and I will wake up at 2 a.m. If I can't sleep, then I will just take a wine. If there was a season in my life that I've ever taken a lot of wine, it's during that COVID time.
Yes. And that was a coping mechanism. And in fact, it's a coping mechanism. In fact, they're calling it the COVID-20. Yes. Right? COVID-10, 10 kilos. Yes. A majority of people, I'm one of those people. In fact, my aunt came, that was in 2022, when 2024, not last year, 2023. Yeah. She hadn't seen me in a minute. And she's like,
what happened?
You gained weight.
Yes. And because when we were doing Hey Sugar program, that's when you talk about coping mechanism, I come to realize that I didn't have clear coping mechanism to cope with loneliness. Because anytime I'm alone, I would drink. Yeah, to the rest of the people, this is a very decent woman. Yeah. She comes home early. She's always indoor. Yes. She's nimupole.
Nimupole.
You say in Swahili. She's always in her house. Chilled. And it is usually labeled as someone who is decent.
Doing the right thing.
Yes. But only my jaw that used to collect cocks can tell the story.
Yes, yeah.
How do we talk about this behind the scene addictions that comes with stress, because we don't have the right coping mechanism? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, that's one of the things that they actually said wine sales did go up during COVID season. For real, they did. Yeah. And a lot of people also started baking, because what we're doing in that moment is, I want you to imagine when you're stressed, what's the opposite of that? You want peace, you want calm.
Or to do anything to relieve
that. To relieve whatever it is that you're feeling, whether you know it or not. And so when you find yourself using those coping mechanisms, the first thing is you first must recognize, especially if it's not something that you used to do before. Most of those mechanisms, especially if they're detrimental and not helpful, notice what they are. What are those usually? Addictions. Addictions from food, addictions over alcohol, addiction of sex. There's different forms of addictions that a lot of people struggle with. So first thing is to recognize, what is that addiction? The next thing is to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Yes. Because it's usually an emotional trigger.
Yes,
there's a need.
100%.
Yeah, there's an internal need that's not been fulfilled.
Yes.
And since it's not been fulfilled externally for you, your husband's not home for 9 months. Yes. That's stressful.
With two
little kids at home.
You don't know what to do with them.
You have an uncle that's ailing. You have your sister who's sick.
Yeah. You can't travel to even provide the social support.
Stuck, And by the way, I'm really sorry about your uncle and what you went through. I'm deeply sorry about that.
You.
And I can obviously see why in that moment you would choose to take alcohol. I can mentally I can understand what that is. Yeah. So
no one to talk, because you're supposed to be the strongest.
And remember, you're the decent one coming home. She looks like everything is together, but they don't understand what's going on behind the scenes.
True.
So let's understand, what's the first thing? If you cannot, if it's an avoid, whether it's coming from your husband, family, what are those dynamics? Now, for you, I'm understanding husband is not home, so there's an emotional void and that physical void. Like the guy you usually talk to not being there. you can feel that void being
Yes.
there. First, recognize it. We're not even saying any strategies. Write what that is. Second one, kids being home, stressful, write it down. Like, write, these are the things that are stressing me.
Yes.
The reason why I always say we do that is you first must be very, not just aware, but honest within yourself.
100%.
Honesty.
Yes. Yes.
Once you're honest with yourself and say, this is what I actually want.
Yes.
And it's not what anyone else, it's what I want in this moment. And for you, husband, kids are stressful. Let's first write that down.
Yes.
Then the next thing is notice, how am I behaving because I don't have the emotional support from my husband and I'm being stressed from my kids? What's the behavior? Because by the time you're behaving, there's always usually something that triggers your behavior.
Yes.
Then you write it down. Oops, okay, I think I'm drinking a little bit too much. Fine. We're not judging, we're simply observing.
Yes.
Do not judge yourself in that moment. I want you to extend grace to yourself because we tend to judge ourselves very harshly and we tend to give grace to other people.
100%.
So learn to give yourself that grace. Once you see that, the next thing becomes, okay, I need this emotional void healed from my husband.
Yes.
What are things I need to do with him? I know he cannot come now, but what are some of those things we need to do?
Some of the things that we did in that particular moment was to have a family routine.
Good.
That on Zoom, either we exercise on Zoom or we cook on Zoom. We have sometime family dinner or date night on Zoom.
Oh, look.
Then at some point, it reached a point where myself as a person, I felt bored.
Yes.
That this is boring. You have to come.
He has to come and he's locked out, girl.
Yes, or sometimes we will do it and then in the middle of it I will just drop and cry because I feel like this is not real.
Emotionally, yeah.
So there was that emotional void that could not be filled by just an alternative way of connecting.
Yes.
When that moment reached, I could not notice that coping. Number one, I was trying to accommodate him, trying to show him that it's okay, it's fine. But when we shut down that laptop, that computer, I just break down, I will cry. And then the next thing, my baby wants milk or want a diaper change. And then the following day, there are emails, you have to respond, you have to do this and that. There is work, life has to go on. In that space, I believe many women in the corporate or in the business, when you are transitioning because you have made, and also in business, you have made a decision to let your life depend on your business decision or your dream and passion to do certain things. You don't give yourself a room to fail. In your business, have you encountered women who also performance has been affected by their weight fluctuation?
My goodness, Alice. That's actually when I tell people, please work on your weight.
Yes.
Because I know for a fact how it's going to impact other areas of your life. I always like to give this story, this client of mine. She said, she came, she did the program, and she looked, not only had she lost a ton of weight, but she looked good and felt good. Because, we don't just focus on the body, we focus on your mind.
100%.
A lot of mindset because we need to shift the way we are thinking. Anyway, when she sent her, the before, the after pictures I usually send. So she sent her after picture. She had this black dress and she says, listen, you guys, I just came from a contract. And I know I was able to win this contract because of the confidence that I've been able to extract from doing this program. It's not the program that gives you the confidence. But what happens is women begin to realize who they are.
Yeah, that's rediscovering
of
your
yourself.
Power and your Yes,
you rediscover yourself. You rediscover your power, and you see, you get to understand you can do hard things, and you can actually accomplish. It's almost like you have a goal in your mind, but you don't know how to get there. Once they would come in, is they're shown the path. They finally take the steps and do their work. And it's like once they get there, it's like a whole world becomes open up for them. So the confidence is actually, if you've seen that, people say, that's the thing. I live here with confidence, knowing. Not only can I take care of my body, I know how to take care of my family, my work. So that comes up. The other thing, if I may allude to the previous conversation we had, is there's one thing I always like to say. We focus on what we can control. The things, if you cannot control, if something is out of your control 100%, do nothing about it.
Oh, I want you to talk about that more. Why? Because as someone who lives with PCOS, I was diagnosed in 2017. And then for some reason, I stayed on that mountain for a very long time of living. Oh, maybe this is a lifetime condition, or I will not. It will not change. I never had a positive mindset toward it, and then the condition grew instead of changing positively. Even if I had the medical support that I needed, but the weight kept coming up.
Yes,
the struggle kept increasing. Now it went on the sugar levels. It went on inability to do certain movements. Tiredness and all that, until 2020, 2021, 2022, and I'm like, it is increasing. Working out, you try to work out so hard. Growing up, I grew up as an active person. I had been playing basketball, and then I dropped. Ever since I got that, there is that kind of self-pitying that comes when you see now the weight is not going. Now you blame the disease. You blame. Can you talk about that? How do we push ourselves back from that rant of self-pitying and blaming any other thing other than yourself?
Girl, this is powerful. This is powerful. And thank you for sharing even your story and being vulnerable there. Because this is the thing. When you have no control, you can control how you see that situation. You can control if something, for instance, we had COVID, for you it's PCOS. Once you get PCOS, and in fact, I love the way you took us through that journey, because I literally saw it. Initially, your mindset was, I'm going to have this forever. I don't like this. Why is it? Why do I have it? I've always been an active person. Now I'm not going to be active. Now I want you to notice what you were saying to yourself, and then look at the actions that followed your words.
Yes, the action were reaffirming the danger, reaffirming the bad condition.
Boom.
Yes, and accommodating it.
And accommodating
for
it.
long.
Because
giving it a residence permit in my heart.
Giving it a residence permit in my heart. I love that. Because what happens is, what you think about, by the time you're saying something, it's already stood and brewed, not just in your heart, but in your mind.
Yeah, true.
Out of the heart, the abundance flows out of your mouth. So whatever you are saying is something that has ruminated in your mind, you've thought about it, and eventually it comes out. But what causes you to say that in the first place? It's the way you have set your mind.
Yeah. I remember there were moments we were on Zoom calls sometime with my husband, and he would just see me sneaking going downstairs. And where are you going? To the fridge. To do what? To pick a cheese.
Oh, to pick cheese.
And it is almost like midnight or 1 a.m. And I'm like, but baby, you don't need that.
Yes.
Maybe if you want, can you grab an apple? And I'm saying, let me just have it. You know I have PCOS.
No, you did not.
So there were times he would really fight me, fighting, like you're fighting a toddler.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, you don't need that. And for me, I would like, you don't understand.
You don't get it.
You don't get it. You're not a woman.
Yes, to understand. Please, hello. And you know what I say to that? I have a rule. And my rule is the following. When I have bad news, I give myself a whole day to ruminate on it, to sit on it, to get angry, to just feel, because it's natural. It's our natural human expression to, like now with PCOS, it's okay. Feel bad, be upset, like why me? But my rule is one day. 24 hours. I'm going to sit in, feel bad, cry, sleep, everything. Like all the things that I usually do.
Giving your feelings a deadline.
I do. And I also allow them in the future. If they do come, I will sit in on them. I don't push them aside. And the reason why I do this is I do recognize if I sit in negativity for a long time, I know what it's going to breed, and I don't like what it's going to breed. It's going to breed low energy. It's going to breed me eating the wrong foods. It's going to breed me thinking badly. And my natural instinct is I do not like that way. I don't like to think negatively, and I don't like to ruminate in heaviness. Because for me, negativity it shows up very heavily in my body. So I do allow myself 24. In fact, that's something I was teaching my girls, because both of them are now in college. Oh my God, Alice. They talk about transitions and talk about feeling.
Living with now an empty nest.
Oh my God, girl, let me tell you, it is the hardest thing. But anyway, and so one of the things I was teaching them before they left, I was really trying to teach them this whole coping mechanism. Can you stay in for at least 24 hours? Don't hold on to this thing because you're not going to move on with life.
Yeah.
And life needs to move on. Otherwise, you got to be left behind. But anyway, my point is, it's important to recognize what's stressing you.
Yes.
Second thing, coping mechanisms. And I think it's important that for you, when your husband, and I like that he's that supportive.
Yes.
Even he's that supportive
he has
person.
Always been.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Supporting you and saying, you really don't need that. Because why? Because he probably has heard you say, I don't like my weight.
Yes.
And here you are just saying, no, it's PCOS that's causing me, so please let me eat.
Yeah.
But really, that's not it. Because how many people do you know who have PCOS and don't have excess weight?
There are many.
Very many of them.
Many, yeah.
And so I want you to look at the evidence of someone who has the exact same situation as you, but
in
are
an
doing
opposite
well.
Situation. Yes.
Exactly. And that is going to help you hopefully reframe the way you're seeing the situation, reframe the way you're thinking about it. Yes, be upset, be sad, but don't stay in that environment, because the more you stay upset, sad, your actions will follow and you will never be able to get out of it. So switching that mindset is going to be very critical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having a mindset that is only focusing on getting better.
Yes.
And reframing your craving, repurposing your craving, because sometimes you would say you're feeling that way because it is through your class that I learned that sometime over craving, it's an indication that you are dehydrated. I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So then I say, okay, I just need to take water
Let me take
instead
water.
of taking a chunk of cheese or a chocolate or something.
Yeah.
So I learned that through your class.
Thank you.
Stress, it is also something that affects us, especially when we have financial targets that we can't meet, or we have career goals that we can't meet. Can we also share the impact of stress in our life goals? How does that, we're giving ourselves unreasonable goals that probably we cannot achieve, and we leave behind any other good thing that we have achieved, and it robs our joy, and it makes us not like the process of where we are because we are focused to the results. How does that affect weight as a coach?
Yes.
Or how does that also affect the way we look at weight as not necessarily as an indicator that we have a serious issue to deal with, other than just the financial goals or whatever goals you had put?
So a couple of things. We should always strive for goals, and we should have goals. I'm always one of those who actually says, write down your goals, because one of the beautiful things about life is we're always working towards something, isn't it?
Yes.
So we're working towards something, and you have a goal that you've written out there. The thing I always say is it's really important to be a realist. Right? Some people are optimistic, and that's great.
Yes.
But can you also be a realist?
Yes.
I am an optimist, but I'm also a realist.
Yes.
I don't go. It's also good to know yourself, right?
Yes.
I am not much of a pessimist.
Yes.
Like if you tell me you want to get, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to achieve, I'll be one of those behind you saying, "Girl, you can do it."
Yes.
Because I have that mindset where I know if you've seen it, you put it in your mind, you can get it.
Yes.
So
True.
that's number one. What happens is what we are doing towards the process of getting our goals.
Yeah.
That's where the stress comes in. And it comes in when we either are wanting things to happen too quickly.
Yes.
We are wanting to shortcut the process.
Yes.
Because life has a way of humbling us. Now, I know I'm in the weight loss industry.
Yes.
So a lot of people who are coming to lose weight.
Yes.
A lot of them will be like Roseanne. No, not a lot of them, but in the past, for me, I'm all about sustainability and following a process and understanding. Within time, you will
Organic
get to
result,
where organic. Oh, I like that organic results. You will get to where you need to be. Now, unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they like to shortchange their goal. So they have a goal, they put it out there. So what are they doing?
Summer body. I want
summer body in 2 months.
Yes.
And you've carried this weight for years.
Yeah.
If it does happen, you can get that summer body, but you will gain it all back.
100%.
So what I like to teach women is let's do it the right way. And the right way is sustainable. Will you still lose weight? Absolutely 100% yes, you will. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to lose your mind along the process. Because for a lot of women, they're actually stressed in the process of losing weight.
Yeah. And that's the frustration. Let's talk about that
That's
mostly
it.
because using my personal example, it's because when I started now working out, eating clean and all that, I will go in 1 month, I have lost 3 kg.
Boom.
And then the next month, I have gained all and even sometimes even
More.
added, because I was much focusing on the scale than other non-scale
victories. Yes.
So I would say, I had 116 last month. Now this one I have gotten back to 120. So my graph was oscillating like this, like that.
Yeah.
And then by the 4th month, I will not renew my membership. I will not go back because I see this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Until I happen to learn that weight loss is much, much more than what you see on the scale.
Correct.
When you see inches are going, when you see you are now even sleeping better,
Yes.
you're moving more,
Yes.
you're not
Panting too much.
you're not. There are so many other things. Your nails are growing
your
healthily.
hair, yes.
Oh, my nail
Nails,
tech.
look at you, girl, yes.
My nail tech used to always put either extension or stick-ons because they would break.
Yes.
Sometimes they are not breaking
Anymore.
anymore. So you find that those are victories.
Yes.
But because our focus is on the scale,
Number.
you will lose the courage to continue. By the 4th month,
Done.
you fall off.
Done.
This is the longest time. Ever since 2017,
Oh my God.
I have been consistent
Oh my
working out.
God, thank
Either
you.
seeing progress on the scale or not, but this is the longest I've been, honestly.
And can I tell you why? That's to me tells me there's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
There's a shift.
True.
And for you, you're looking at what else is happening.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your numbers, because you guys, this girl has been sharing her numbers behind the scenes.
Yes.
And you can see her numbers are improving.
Yes.
It's not just the number on the scale.
Yes.
Look at your lipid levels.
Yes.
Look at your, and for her.
My body fat.
Your body
'Cause when
fat,
I
yes.
started, the body fat was at 64%.
And what are you now?
So the second time when I did body
Yeah.
composition, it became 60 and then 54.
Look at you.
And then 50, now at 40%.
You
I
guys,
shared that.
yes, you did, you did.
It's at 40%.
That, I'm even getting goosebumps, Mami.
yes.
That for me is exactly how it should be. I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
Because it's, what do we consider? For her, she's changed her mind.
Yeah.
This has to be a long-term journey.
Yes.
And will the number eventually get to where you need it to be? Yes, it does. You get stressed when you try to fast track a process.
Yeah, true.
And
I agree.
life will teach you until you learn the lesson life is teaching you. You will keep being given the same exam over and over and over until you say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And that is why I'll say this, Alice, and I'll say it unequivocally. Diets do not work.
It does not.
Crash diets do not
Does
work.
not, yeah.
All these things people are doing, they do not work. You know why? Because you must focus on changing your mind and you must focus on changing your lifestyle. If you do not do that, I promise you, you're going to continue like that hamster that's just going round and round and round, expecting new results. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But the minute you make the decision, that's the key word. Hear me out. Decide. You decide to make a change in your lifestyle.
Yeah, true.
That's when it will happen. And then the other thing, because we talked about goals,
Yes.
what can stress us is if we, now I'm all about setting a time frame. I'm all
Yes,
about that.
yes.
But I always want us to be very flexible in understanding and recognizing there are outside circumstances that may slow our own process down and we may not hit the goal within the time frame we had set for ourselves. Don't hold yourself to a hard rule and a hard stop that it must happen by this date. That's also what stresses us out.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
become
in the process,
flexible in the
yes.
process.
Yeah.
Become flexible in saying, when it happens, it's going to happen. And if I may, because this is a great tip I want to leave with folks,
Yes, please.
focus on the process, not the outcome.
It's hard though.
Listen, it's not. Let's reframe that. I'll tell you why it's not hard. Because if we begin to break down,
Yes.
don't think about the mountain. Remember when you got PCOS?
Yes.
Where were you? Where's your brain? In the mountain.
Yes.
How do I climb up this mountain?
Yes.
This will be great coming full circle.
Yes.
This is how you get to a mountain, one step at a time. Let's break it down practically per day, literally a day at a time. And how do you do this? Now, I plan, so there's several ways. I have my family plan and I have a work plan, and they pretty much are the same. So we always start at the beginning of the year looking at the calendar for the whole year. And this is a great tip that I want to share with someone. So start out with a whole year. Okay, what do you want to work on? Because this is going to help alleviate your stress.
Yes.
Put down the goals that you want to work on. And I like to focus on 2 to 3, right? 2 to 3 areas of my life. And out of those 2 to 3 areas, then you have 2 to 3 goals, main goals that you're going to be working on.
Yes.
So don't focus on many goals.
Yes.
That's number one. The second thing that we do is break it down per quarter. So every quarter, I have it broken down. This quarter, if it's, let's say, a financial goal, this is the goal for the this is what we would like to hit financially. If it is, for me, working out, I no longer focus, that on the number on the scale.
Yes.
My goal would be, I want to have done X number of exercises this quarter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if it's, let's say, for this year, by the way, mine was dancing. I had started with hiking, but I dropped hiking.
Yes.
And I was like, I'll dance more and I'll focus on strength training.
On steps.
Yes, and steps and also steps, yeah. So walking, steps, and strength training. Those are the things I was working on. And the other part I was working on was my relationship with my husband.
Yes.
So going out on more dates, relationship with a girl. So
Yes.
relationships and fitness. Those are the 2 main areas I was working on. Now, when you break it down that way, you then break it down weekly. What am I going to do this week? What are the things I'm focusing on this week?
The micro habits.
Yeah. Then you break it down per day.
Yes.
Alice, when you break it down per day, tell me, aren't you going to be able to get to that mountain eventually?
Yes, true. I agree.
Eventually you get there.
Because when I started, my main challenge was steps.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I do most of my work seated.
Yes.
So the only step I had sometime on my phone, I could find a day where I had 900 steps.
Oh, that's good. There was a day I had 300, girl.
So that is maybe
but I get it.
Picking and dropping a child.
Yes.
Going up and down.
the stairs. Yeah,
to the kitchen and all that. And
back.
I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
And knowing that if I have like a weekly or a monthly target when it comes to steps, then I say, let me maybe take a day or 2 in a month where I do hike. Good. And that way I will compensate the steps that I could not manage for the other days.
Yeah.
Or what if I drop and then walk throughout
the week,
going back home, and then I pick the car somewhere far so that I can walk intentionally.
Yes.
That was a way of trying to find a way I can do stuff.
Yes.
Get things done.
Right.
Instead of just saying, oh, this is hard. Oh, this I can't do it. This I can't do that. Now, coming back to women who are in business or women who are working, let's say 8 to 5.
Yeah.
They have little time to exercise. Yeah. They have little things to go long distance walk and all that. Do you have practical tips that you can share?
Absolutely.
On a way a woman can keep her movement alive and keep her eating lighter or
Absolutely. This is like my sweet spot. This is what I love to focus on and help women, because I recognize once you're doing well within your body, everything else that you're trying to accomplish, you do well. So a couple of quick steps. Walking, I want us first to understand we were created to walk. That's how we were created. Our lifestyle has been hijacked by a Western lifestyle because we sit down a lot. We never used to do that. In fact, a quick story. My grandfather at 97 years old was walking upright, and I always remember that image
the
of
posture,
him tall, walking. He used to walk like 5 kilometers to and fro every day at 97 years old. So that's possible. That's number one. You start with the micro habits right now. Become intentional. Become intentional. Because if there's no intention, your actions will not follow. So if this is something that's important to you, you're going to notice increased energy. Couple of things. If you're in the office, like now, see how you're here. You can say, in between my shoots, before the next person comes in, I will do 100 steps. Are you going to look like crazy? Fine, I can. I don't care. But just walk. You can even say, I'll walk around the house. I will walk around my office. I'm going to do a couple of steps. And you can say, let's assume you have 5 shoots today. That's just easily in between 500 steps you have just done. And by the way,
it's a goal.
It is. You can actually do 200 within like a very short period of time.
True.
So it's easy to crank those up. So you first become intentional. If you have an office space, and let's say you need to go meet someone in the office, instead of calling them, get up, walk over to their office. Like now when you're going to see, let's say, your assistant, instead of calling her, stand up, walk, talk to her, come back, sit down. Couple of practice. They're very simple, practical, but you've been intentional.
The traditional communication.
It is, and also it's so important for us to communicate that way.
Yeah, true.
Do you know one of the things that I've realized because of Zoom? We continue doing a lot of stuff on Zoom, and now we're like, we need to get back to meeting because we need that.
It can never replace human
connection.
Yeah.
It can never replace. So that the other thing is, you can say, maybe breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Can I get myself an extra 10 minutes to walk post meals? Couple of things. I'll give you 2 tips.
Post meals walk. Yes.
Post meal walks. Why? They help, number one, big muscle groups in your lower body. This helps you metabolize your carbs better.
You're in the team of those who have their lunch beside their laptop.
Hey, let's walk to the cafeteria or let's walk down. Or even if you're in the office, you can look for a girlfriend or a guy friend and say, can we be doing a 10-minute walk after lunch?
Yes,
you can even pull in your supervisor and just, you know how when you're having those chats, like when you guys are not businessy, you can just, when you begin to talk, pull them in and say, this is something that is really important. I think it's great for all of us as a company, as a culture. You can even start that culture in your office where you guys are walking after your meals. So these are small steps. Even when you get home, after dinner, that's something, by the way, we've not actively, because now I told you my kids are going to college, we've started actively, my husband and I, going for evening walks together post dinner, so that we can get our bodies moving and also connect that way.
True.
So these are simple things. If you're parking in the car,
for some time and for some reason, people always think this is a Muzungu thing,
because
they like walking in the evening as a couple. They have their early dinner and then they walk.
Okay.
To some of us, think, this is Muzungu-ish, and it's really healthy.
It's so healthy. Yeah. I'd never thought about it that way. I'd never even heard
because
that.
Because in the French culture, people do that a lot.
Oh, then listen.
No, they walk. They have dinner, let's say, at 6 p.m. And then you will find people walking toward forest or open public areas to either go buy bread. Because in the French culture, they buy bread in the evening for the following morning.
I actually like that. I like, you know what I've always said, if you see someone doing something right, you've said the French people, they're some of the leanest people in the world, and they eat a lot of bread.
Yes, they do. But you see, the dinner is served at 6 p.m.
Exactly,
and then everybody walks to buy their fresh bread for the next day.
That's a great culture to actually start implementing.
Yes,
I actually like that habit. Well, in fact, you know what else you have just put in my head? The culture of going out to actually buy foods.
Yes,
which is what,
like a fruit
or whatever. Which is what, and now the more I see it, I've never been to France, but I've seen a couple of, I guess in the movies, I've seen where people are walking to the market, are going to whatever. That's something we've lost as a people. And that's something we used to do.
You buy your baguette or your croissant and then walk back home for the following morning.
But even
it is until I reached Kenya that I've noticed that people freeze bread. That
we freeze our bread, oh man.
That you buy bread and then put it in the freezer because people have not that habit of buying bread daily. So what I'm hearing is really cultural habits. Yes. And how do we change if we're wanting to change? Okay, fine. If you want to freeze the bread, you can. But can you then maybe... I really like... Because I guess because I've also started walking with my husband. Yeah. I do my walks anyway. I've always done my walks. Yes. But this is something we've determined that we're going to do together as a way of connecting also. Isn't it? Yeah, that's But nice. I do like that culture of the French people going for walks to buy food for the next day. Yes. There's something really cool about that. Yes, it is. Because there's having now the fresh produce. Yeah. And then again, it is purpose. You know, if I don't work, there's no bread for tomorrow. Yeah. And if you notice, even though breads in America and Europe are very different because of the ingredients that they use, the Europeans' ingredients are much more cleaner than the West. Yeah, the whole most of the time. And I'm hoping our African culture will not allow us to be infiltrated by the West in terms of ingredients and foods, because America is the most obese nation. I lived there for years. We still have the luxury of having the morning duma, the morning but a lot of people cassava, don't do that. The morning that is fresh, the butternut that is fresh. It's still nice than the bread, than the frozen bread anyway. And that is microwaved. Oh my God. I mean, Alice, listen, look at you. She like seen everything wrong we're doing. Yeah. I think the culture I've been really helping change has been that culture of people not appreciating
traditional foods.
Yeah, true.
That's been the culture I've been trying to work and changing, because those are the foods I eat. And it's been a culture that I really want us to embrace, because the minute we understand that our cultural foods are the healthiest, most natural, coming from the earth. And in Africa, we have the most beautiful climate, the most abundant of foods. If we recognize that this is what we need to eat more of than the packaged goods,
Yes.
I promise you, even that mental switch,
Yes.
the minute you understand that and you make that switch and you notice you're eating more of those foods, come back and tell me if your body is not going to change.
Talking about food choices and stress eating and all that, I would like, is there any correlation between how our brain is wired to lean more into processed food when it comes to dealing with stress than eating healthy organic stuff?
Yeah. It's very hormonally driven. That's
Okay.
such a great question.
Yeah.
Are we more apt to being driven to processed foods?
Yes.
Absolutely we
Yes.
are. Why is that? When you're stressed, remember in the beginning I said you raise your cortisol.
Yes.
Cortisol is a stress hormone. Now cortisol is supposed to be released. Like when we wake up in the morning, your body releases cortisol. Why? Because we need to get going. It's the day starting. So it gets released in the morning. But it should not be pumped out throughout the day, which is what happens when you're stressed. When you notice it being pumped out throughout the day, how will you know? You'll know with the cravings.
Yeah, true.
And cravings are usually brought on as a result of lack of balance of hormones. So usually I say, if your cravings are up, your hormones are not balanced. So don't beat yourself down and say, it's me, this is all I eat. All that's telling me is, oh, no, there's something off with the hormones.
Yeah,
so
true.
let's go figure out what those hormones are.
Yes.
Okay, we notice it's stress levels. Remember what I said? Midsection belly.
Yes.
If you notice that, let's go look what's happening with your lifestyle.
Yes.
That's the first thing I like to look at.
Yes.
If we see your lifestyle is busy, we're going to work on the lifestyle. It could also be an underlying issue like PCOS.
Yes.
It could be endometriosis.
Or
both. Or both.
Like in my case.
Or both. Stress and
And the
PCOS.
PCOS.
So once we understand that, I want you to know stress indeed will cause you, because now cortisol, it then releases insulin, because insulin is trying to balance things out.
Yeah.
Insulin is a hormone that is the one that causes us to crave more carbohydrates.
Yes.
Once insulin gets released, it then goes to the brain. The brain releases, okay, it's like we need to feel good.
Yes.
What's the feel good hormone? We want to feel dopamine, right? That's what we want to feel excited. What gets you excited in the brain?
Yes.
Usually, give me carbohydrates, give me quick fixes, give me sugar.
Yes.
So your brain will suggest for you to eat the sugary foods to get that quick fix.
Yeah.
Once you get that quick fix, you feel good, settles you down a little bit. But then if you do not address those underlying issues, this becomes the cycle that we want to break. Because over time, if you keep doing this, where your hormones are not balanced, you're eating mostly carbohydrate-rich meals, you will definitely notice over time, and then you're also overeating other foods, you will definitely notice your fat increasing, you'll notice excess weight gain. And so that's why I say it's just not about fixing the food. And it is about fixing the food, changing. But really go back.
The choices
you're making,
One
but
thing that
underlying
I've noticed
lifestyle.
as well within joining your program is that sometimes what we think is healthy choices is not that healthy. Because I remember still choosing starchy vegetables as vegetables.
Yes.
Or eating more fat content like avocado and eggs in one particular plate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve the purpose that it's supposed to
Yeah.
serve. I know you help busy women
Yeah.
mostly and to have a sustainable weight loss plan, not necessarily to achieve weight loss, but also to live a sustainable lifestyle.
Correct.
When I say she lived the talk, if you can see how this girl can dance, if you can see how her knees can do wonders, and some of us are cracking like an old car.
No.
Yes. My knees are horrible still now.
Okay, we're going to work on that.
I'm working
We're
on
working
that.
on that, yeah.
What I want to talk about is aiming for sustainability and knowing that, well, stress is something that is going to happen all the time. Maybe my life condition or my medical condition is something that I cannot easily reverse. Sustainability is something that is going to serve us in that condition. When it comes to proposing programs for different women, depending on their lifestyle, depending on wherever they are in the world, what solution do you provide?
I provide sustainability for sure. And I focus on our key principles. So I focus on your mind.
Yes.
I focus on nutrition and movement.
Yes.
But in there, there's always subcategories.
Yes.
And I do this because I was there myself.
Yes.
I was once overweight. I had a diagnosis of high cholesterol when I was 29 years old, Alice. So I know the struggle it is to have that heavy diagnosis like your PCOS at the back of your mind.
Yes.
And so for me, when my doctor told me I needed to lose weight or be on medication for the rest of my life, I had to make a radical shift in my lifestyle and how I was showing up. So when I talk about sustainability, I talk about it from a place of knowing, a place of living it. And this time, by the way, both my girls were young. So, and I was in the States.
In the States,
you have no help.
Yes.
You're doing everything for
all
yourself.
by yourself.
The fact that I was able to do it as a mom who was working and I had my girls.
No help at home. Yeah.
I knew I needed to figure something that is sustainable. And the reason for that is there's a coach who had me count my calories.
Yes.
I was like, man. I looked at my life and I saw how many kids I have and what I was doing for my kids every day. And I had to add this on. It just became hard in my mind.
The math cannot work.
Math ain't mathing.
Yeah, no.
I went for another coach and she had me measure.
The guilt that you have when you have an extra egg.
Measuring was not doable for me. So I had to figure what can become sustainable. Meaning, it had to be something that is automated and it becomes part of my lifestyle. So since I figured it out, I was like, I can help other women do this. Obviously, my story is much longer than that. I changed my career trajectory and this is now what I do to help other women because I was there myself. When I see someone like you and I knew what your story was and I would see your meals, I'll be like, you're on the right path, but this path will not help you get to where you need to be.
True.
And all you need to do is just micro adjustments. What I tell folks is it's not about completely overhauling your life. It's not about eating foods you have never eaten. It's not about doing or adding things that you don't necessarily know.
One thing I learned from your input mostly that is really different from many other weight loss programs that I've tried before.
Right.
It's associating journaling with weight loss. Because when you journal your feelings, when you journal your goals, and going back for what I journaled 3 months ago.
Yes.
And looking at it right now, and I'm like, okay.
My God.
Wow.
And
then it gives me the courage to know, okay, if I've managed to deal with this in a positive way, then today I can also handle stress. The thing with our brain, it does not register positive things as it registers negative things.
Boom.
Yeah. And then when you are in the crossroad of anger, frustration, it always comes back with counterfeits, like things to counter your courage or your goodwill to say that, no, you cannot lose weight. You can't do that. Yeah. You remember, you have been on this on and off.
Yeah.
Remember the last year you dropped your membership. You remember last week you could not... Like picking yourself up, it's hard because we don't have stepping stones to remind ourselves.
Yeah.
But journaling really helped me so much. This is something that I've seen that is working. When I look, I'm seeing like in January, I was either struggling with something and then I found a way out. Then what I'm going through this month is even, let's say, minor compared to
what you're going on last month.
So it gives me the courage. When I joined that shift, that radical shift I had to take, when you have done your medical report and it is indicating red everywhere. Your sugar levels I was already diabetic. Your cortisol,
up.
Your thyroid down. Completely.
Yeah.
And the next thing you might get to know is that thyroid levels are the one that lead to depression. So would you like to speak something about how women should regularly even do such a test so that they know their state, so that they can know it. You're not just behavior, you're not just moody.
Yeah, there's a reason why.
There is a reason. There
There's
is a
reason
medical
why.
and a clinical condition
Yes, that's underlined. That needs to be fixed. And that's how I found out I had my high cholesterol. Because I had a habit and I still have a habit. And I'd encourage every woman, please go get yourself checked every year. Make it a habit. Do a physical exam every single year.
Yes.
But as we get older, as you become especially perimenopausal, you want to ask for very specific tests.
Yes,
like go see a doctor who specializes in perimenopausal women. Because the baseline study, the baseline the baseline of what they want to see for maybe a younger woman changes as we're aging. Couple of things that you want to realize. Some of the things that may change as you get older, your cortisol levels. So we want to balance those out. Insulin levels do change. Do you know what else changes? Your high cholesterol numbers, or HDL and LDL, except those numbers. We actually notice perimenopausal women having more cholesterol as they're getting older.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's important.
Because our ability to synthesize food and process fat is lower as it was before.
But all that driven by our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, all of those going down. So the key is, can you get yourself every year? You say, I am going for my physical exam. And you know what's beautiful, because we're here in Kenya. We now have, because a lot of people used to go to India. And it used to bother me. I'm like, why can't we have it in Kenya? But now doctors have come up where you can go and a whole day, you're getting tested for your eyes, your blood work, your heart, your pap smear. Like all those tests are important because, Alice, to your point, you would rather know what is going on. You have time to fix it. And there are tools. And we've already talked to you about having a positive mindset. We've already said, wallow in pity for just a couple of minutes, don't stay in it for months. Because you will deteriorate. But focus on getting yourself healthy. Because this is the other thing that I say, Alice. I remember this when I was in standard 7 or standard 8. There's a guy, he was a lawyer. My friend's dad, and he died at 50-something years old of a heart attack. I was in standard 7 or standard 8. And I remember thinking then, this is how, when you go back, God always, core memories. There are things that you remember, and you're like, why did he make me think about this man? I remember thinking then, oh, wow, because they were very well off. I remember thinking, wow, he's so well off and he has died so young. I remember thinking he was young, even though I was also young at 55. And then I remember thinking, what's the purpose?
The lifestyle.
Lifestyle. Much later, as I got into this field, because he came back to mind, I thought, why work so hard and not get to enjoy
the work of your labor?
So now let's change the narrative. Let's work hard. But as we're working hard, can we still take care of ourselves? So that as we're aging, I'm not saying we're never going to get sick. I'm not saying, but can you do your part in saying, I did the best that I could to take care of my mind, to take care of my emotions, to take care of my body. I did the best that I could with everything that I knew how. And life just handed itself whatever it handed to me, but I know I did my part. Rather than sitting back and just waiting for life to happen. Because it really, for me, it boggles my mind. Why work so hard? And then the latter part of our lives, we're using all that money to stay in the hospital.
Or sometimes even end up leaving so huge debts
to our children and our grandchildren. And we can change that narrative. And this is the time. And how do we know we can change the narrative? You have power. And all it takes is making a decision. I keep going back to that. Just decide, my wellness is important. My health is important. I will take care of myself. Just say that to yourself. And you can be able to do that. And you don't need to overhaul. It's small steps. You can just start by saying, I'll be taking the stairs. I'll be parking in the farthest spot in the office when I go in. I'll be drinking more water than alcohol. I'll be eating more vegetables than no vegetables at all. I'll be spending time with my girlfriends. I'll be spending time with my kids. I'll be taking care of my spiritual well-being. Like, plan all those things because it's possible to be able to do them. And when you take care of yourself, you will notice that you not only feel good within your body, but now, can you take care of your kids better? Can you do your work better? Can you take care of your family better if you need to? So everything else now emanates from there. Because you have taken care of yourself. So make your health a priority. Like really make it a
Are you
priority.
listening? The takeaways. Yes, chase the bread, but be there when the bread is shared.
Yes.
Be there, create good memories, be intentional in your choices, be intentional in what you choose and how you choose to cope with your stress.
Yes.
Create time, define what makes you happy, do that more, move often. What else? Did I miss any other thing?
There's a lot. There's a lot.
a lot.
I think let's say mind, body. So it's the mind-body connection.
Mind-body connection.
Right.
Now, as we summarize at our episode of today, I would like you, if you have any other question, leave it in the comments so that we can refer it to Coach Roseanne and she will give you more guidance on how she can help you. Would you like to tell our listeners where to find you, what program that you have that can help busy women who are living with a condition like mine or who know that it's the moment to take that radical decision and they need proper professional support for them to kickstart their journey?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that amazing offer. So I appreciate that so much.
Welcome.
Instagram is where I am mostly active, Coach Roseanne. So it's Coach COACH, Roseanne, ROSEANNE.
Yeah, we can link that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And I think what I could do, one of the best things I always like to do is I like to give you a quiz that I created.
Okay.
What this quiz does is it helps you understand yourself. It helps you understand where you are, helps you understand your lifestyle. So I can share that quiz with you. We can put it on the link.
Yes.
And you can take that quiz because it will help you understand your personality. Psychology is my background. So I like to combine psychology and nutrition.
Yes.
And once we do that, once you get to understand yourself, you now come from a place of taking the right actions because you now know yourself better.
Would you not like to look like her in the future?
Thank you.
Will that not be a plan?
Look your best. How's that?
Yes. Would you not like to do the lower dance move in your 60s and without cracking your knees?
Yes.
Would you not have? There is a challenge you shared in the email, like the 100 things that you would love to do when you are much, much older.
Yes.
And among those, however much funny they are, do you know how many I ranked?
How many did you rank?
20.
20? Yes, girl.
There are few, so I'm going toward now.
They're not few.
Yeah.
That's where you are right now.
Yes, that's where I am right now. Now, I want to go back and rank again and see and have that as a goal. That when I am a grandmother, how do I want? It's important to also plan that. When you are an intentional person, will I not be that boring grandmother who is on and off in hospital, who is coughing around grandchildren all the time?
Yeah, listen.
Are you that grandmother who will go in PTA and behave so that you don't look like you look pitiful and all that? And we can only do it right now.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight, the support that you give. Thank you for being instrumental in my personal life and the life of the other women that you have really helped worldwide. Thank you for having this as a dedication, because the effort you put in, the consistency that is in there, the professionalism that is there, and you go beyond weight loss.
Thank you.
Because your approach is really something that compounds many other aspects that affect a woman in her 360 rotation. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Oh, thank you, Alice. And thank you for having me. But I want to applaud you for doing the work, because if I could show you the path, but if you don't do the work, you would not be where you are today. Thank you for showing up for you. And I'm so glad this has been the longest you've been consistent. And I know it's going to last for a lifetime. So thank you. And thank you for having me in this show.
Welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.